I mean, it's just like the world stopped.
We sit down with the mother of a Minnesota Marine killed in Washington, D.C. She opens up about the young man who followed his dreams.
But we begin with two breaking stories. In Minneapolis, a squad car collides with an SUV, which slams into a liquor store.
And in Roseville, two pedestrians crossing the street killed in a crash.
Good evening. I'm Paul Folger.
And I'm Jackie Kane. That crash happened around 6 o'clock on Larpenteur Avenue and Woodbridge Court. That's right near Rice Street, along the border of Roseville and St. Paul. Let's get right to Callan Gray at the scene with what happened. Callan.
Well, police reopened Larpenteur just in the last hour, but they got here around 5:30, and this was a very difficult scene. Police tell us a man and a woman were hit and killed on that side of the road. There are a lot of apartment buildings up and down this stretch, and people were outside, including children, and they saw the aftermath of this. Police tell us the two people were crossing the road.
The vehicle that struck both of them remained. That driver is with us, and that driver is cooperating. We do have some preliminary information that another vehicle may have been driving by at the same time as the vehicle struck the two pedestrians.
They are looking to talk to that other driver, and they ask anyone who is in the area who may have seen the crash to call them. Police say the driver is a 72-year-old man, and they are investigating whether alcohol was a factor. They tell us they plan to apply for a search warrant to get a blood sample from him. Police are still working to figure out whether the two people hit knew each other.
It is a busy highway right here, so you get a lot of traffic and things like that coming down this way. And I've witnessed people speeding down this.
There's not many pedestrians crossways, so really there's no alternative to use like a crossway for pedestrians.
Well, this is where Maplewood, St. Paul, and Roseville all come together. It's a main thoroughfare. And as the chief pointed out earlier, the warmer weather had more people out walking more than normally would be during this time of year. Although the scene is clear and Larpenteur is back open, Roseville police are still investigating. Reporting in Roseville, Callan Gray, 5 Eyewitness News.
Callan, thank you. Chopper 5 tracking another breaking story tonight. A squad car and SUV collide at 22nd and Lindale, just south of downtown Minneapolis, causing a lot of damage, even to a liquor store.
Brett Hofflin is there to show us more. Brett?
Yeah, Paul, this is a busy area. Lots of vehicles and pedestrians throughout the day. Just within the last 30 minutes, the two vehicles involved in this crash were towed away. Now, if you take a look live, you can see crews are boarding up the front of Hum's Liquors where there is a little bit of damage. I talked to a lot of people who showed up to the scene, and they agree there could have been much more serious injuries here. Now, Minneapolis police tell us that just before 7, officers were headed northbound on Lindale responding to a call. They say the squad car had emergency sirens and lights activated. But near West 22nd, the police squad hit an SUV. That SUV that slammed into Hum's Liquor Store. And there isn't a ton of damage to the store except for the exterior and dozens of bottles of wine spilled. Now, there were 3 people in the SUV. 2 were taken to the hospital. Both officers were checked out, but everyone is expected to be just fine. And officials stress both police and the public have a responsibility during these calls.
It's a great responsibility to be driving in emergency mode with lights and siren. You try to watch everything that you're doing, everything that's happening around you. People need to, when they hear emergency sirens or see lights, pull to the right and just be aware of their surroundings.
Now, I asked just how fast that squad car was going in this area and who's at fault. Police tell me it's too early to tell, but they do have some video and technology inside the squad car and maybe some video surveillance footage in this neighborhood that they can review and figure it all out. Live in Minneapolis, Brett Hofflin, 5 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Brett, stay with 5 Eyewitness News for continuing coverage of both of these breaking stories. We are always updating our free KSTP mobile app and our website, kstp.com. 2 Minneapolis police officers have been cleared of criminal charges in a deadly November shooting.
Body camera video shows that life and death encounter. We want to warn you, it's difficult to watch.
Do it! Come on! Drop the knife, buddy. Drop the knife. Let's do this! Drop the knife, dude!
This violent scene all started with a call to police reporting that Travis Jordan was threatening suicide. Todd Wilson is here with a closer look at that video and how that situation unfolded.
It was a tough situation for everyone involved. Now, this video, like Jackie said, is graphic in nature. It also gives the officers perspective of having to make life and death decisions under pressure.
Come here. Let's do this. Okay. Hurry up. Let's do this. Come here, dude.
36-year-old Travis Jordan is inside his house resisting commands. Eventually, he takes a stand at the outer door of his house, provoking officers Ryan Keys and Neil Walsh.
Let's do it. Put it down. Come on. No. Do it. No. I do not want to do this.
Jordan walks out with a large knife in hand in a threatening manner.
Drop the knife. Let's do this.
And within seconds, Walsh and Keys fire on Jordan. Walsh quickly handcuffs Jordan amid him moaning, saying he's sorry. Today, nearly 2 months after the officer-involved shooting, Hennepin County Attorney Mike Freeman says body camera video and other evidence shows Officers Walsh and Keys' use of deadly force was objectively reasonable in the face of the danger of death or great bodily harm, and no criminal charges could or should be made.
People are making split-second decisions.
The original call was for a suicidal man. Sue Aberholden with the National Alliance of Mental Illness of Minnesota says it was obvious Jordan was having a crisis.
I mean, he had shared that with his girlfriend and his friend, even in the video, saying, just do it. He knew that if he kept going forward, that the police were going to shoot him.
Minneapolis police officers are no strangers to crisis. MPD tells us it handles nearly 400 calls each month for emotionally disturbed people. And data from the Centers for Disease Control shows suicide rates in Minnesota have jumped more than 40% over 18 years.
We know that the number of people going to emergency rooms is up. In some ways, we are experiencing greater mental health crises than before.
Aberholden went on to say she hopes the department looks at what could have been done differently and learns from that. In a statement, Police Chief Madera Arredondo said he will continue to ensure MPD receives the best in training to deal with people in crisis. Arredondo also praised the officers, writing, during their interaction, they display professionalism in their communications and actions with Mr. Jordan, including immediately rendering first aid to him after he received his injuries.
And Mayor Fry is responding.
That's right. I also have a response from him. Now, Mayor Jacob Fry released a statement as well, saying more needs to be done to help those with mental health issues. Fry offered condolences to Travis Jordan's family and acknowledged the difficulties with these officers that they faced in this situation.
Such a tough situation.
Very tough.
All right, Todd, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Minneapolis police are working to expand a program that pairs mental health professionals with officers. After Travis Jordan's death, we told you about the co-responder pilot project operating in South Minneapolis. The department tells us it is in the budget for the rest of the city, but there's no rollout date. Even if the program had been in effect in North Minneapolis at the time of that shooting, it would not have changed what happened. Co-responder teams are not sent to calls involving weapons or an immediate threat.
Within the last hour, we've learned the U.S. House passed a plan to reopen the government without funding a border wall. That vote comes on the same day Democrats took control of the House and California Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi became Speaker for the second time. Earlier, President Donald Trump made a surprise appearance in the White House press briefing room to talk about the shift of power and his demands for a border wall.
Without a wall, you cannot have border security. Without a very strong form of barrier, call it what you will, but without a wall, you cannot have border security. It won't work.
Measures passed by the House today still need to be passed by the Senate. Ultimately, the president says he won't sign a budget bill without money for the wall. 5 new members of Congress are from Minnesota. Republicans Jim Hagedorn and Pete Stauber, as well as Democrats Angie Craig, Dean Phillips, and Ilhan Omar were sworn in today. The 116th Congress has the most diverse group of lawmakers ever and more than 100 women.
That's really what we're excited about and encouraged by that trend, because we really want our democracy to represent all voices.
Women are often seen as more compassionate and more sensitive to a lot of domestic issues that voters care about. Those sorts of advantages, I think, are here to stay.
But Stephen Scheer also saying there's not going to be a big short-term impact because Congress is divided.
A school bus driver is charged with criminal sexual conduct, and now police are looking for more potential victims. Court documents say Carl Broden's abuse of the victim started in 2005 when she was 14 years old and then continued for 8 years. At that time, Broden also volunteered with a children's program at what is now called Discover Church in Brooklyn Park. More recently, he worked as a school bus driver for First Student, which works with Osseo area schools.
We are asking the public if they believe they have any information that may help us, or they are a victim or were a victim of anything that may have happened related to this individual. We ask them to call us.
Now, police say the victim was not a student. 5 Eyewitness News stopped by Broden's home. A relative outside told us the allegations are simply not true.
We had a couple of cold days this week. Now we're in the middle of a potentially record-breaking winter warm-up. Dave, let's look at the numbers.
Yeah, Paul, right now the temperature is 11 degrees above the average high for this time of the year, which is 24. We're at 35 degrees, low to mid-30s in most of southern Minnesota, 36 in Owatonna. Even up in the northern part of the state is still in the lower 30s there. Tomorrow we're going to start out very mild. 8 a.m. we're already up to 30. The average high again is 24. By noon we're up to 38. We should reach a high of 42, and that is a record. I'll show you that coming up with our forecast.
All right, Dave, thank you. Coming up, a man seriously hurt in a crash reunites with the first responders who saved him. In our Minnesota moment, his thank you to firefighters. But first, memories of a Minnesota Marine accidentally killed in Washington, D.C. We sit down with his mother.
I opened up the door and I saw the 2 Marines, and I was like, I just knew instantly that he was gone.